Hello everybody, this is Dr. Whiting, and it is the season to be jolly. There are so many different people celebrating different holidays this month. And I thought, rather than tell you more about the dangers of the coronavirus, which you should all know about by now, I thought I would, for the next couple of weeks, share some of my favorite holiday slash party slash dinner recipes with you. These are recipes that I have used for years and years, and for the most part, those of you who have followed me, you know that I'm very carbohydrate intolerant. And that means I have to avoid carbohydrates because they put weight on me by just smelling them cooking. I don't even have to eat them. So the majority of the recipes I will be sharing with you over the next few weeks will be lower in carbohydrates. They will not always be low in calories. So be forewarned, because when I was in my 20s, I had the opportunity to study under and learn from a star chef, European chef, and his specialty was French cuisine. And so that's my specialty, and that's my favorite. I love French cooking. It is not as difficult as people think, and it's rarely low in calories. But I have modified some of their classic things to be able to include lower carbohydrate versions. So today I want to talk to you about one of my favorite side dishes. Oftentimes when we host a dinner for family, we end up with potato dishes and root vegetable dishes, etc. And they're all very high in carbohydrates. So I thought you just might be interested in a lower carbohydrate side dish. And this one is made with cauliflower. And it is cauliflower au gratin. And it's loaded with cheese, and it's loaded with calories, but it has almost no carbs. In fact, the carbohydrates per serving are probably about 5 grams, as opposed to a potato dish would probably be 50 or 60 grams. So for those of you who are watching your weight by watching carbohydrate intake, this is an ideal side dish for you. So what I will do with each one of these, beginning today, I will give you the ingredients list first. And you can jot that down. And of course, you can always rewind and replay this video again. So the ingredients are one 3-pound, approximately 3-pound head of cauliflower. Now you're going to cut that into large florets. Now you can also get packaged cauliflower florets already cut up, and those are fine too. It just saves you that one step if they have them in your market. We're going to use some kosher salt both in the dish and in the water, and what you're going to do is you're going to boil those florets, those cauliflower florets, until they're medium done, just fork tender. You do not want to overcook them because you're going to be baking them later, and all of that heat is going to end up creating cauliflower soup, and that's not what we want. So, about 3 pounds of cauliflower, about half a stick of butter, 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 2 cups of milk that has been preheated, hot milk, half a teaspoon of pepper, and originally I used nutmeg. I'm not a big fan of nutmeg. If you want to use it, about 1/4 of a teaspoon. I have since, in recent years when I fixed this, I've just left it out. I'm not a great nutmeg fan. Then you're going to need 3/4 to 1 cup of grated Gruyere cheese. And then you're going to need a half a cup of freshly grated, please, Parmesan. Get a block of Parmesan and run it through your grater or your food processor. And I always add an additional half cup of white cheddar, which has also been grated. And last but not least, a quarter of a cup or so of breadcrumbs. We're going to use that as a topping. Okay, that's the list. It's not that complicated. Step one, like they always say, is preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And while you're doing that, cook the cauliflower florets either from the bag or from the whole head that you have diced and severed and cut up in a large pot of boiling water, about 5 to 6 minutes, but test with a fork because you do not want to under or overcook them. You want them fork tender but still firm. Drain all the water off in a colander and set aside. While this is all going on, melt 2 tablespoons of the butter in a medium saucepan over low heat. Add the flour, stirring consistently with a wooden spoon for about 2 minutes. What we're going to do is make what the French call a roux, because we need to thicken this thing. Otherwise, again, we're going to end up with soup instead of the side dish that's our goal. All right, pour the hot milk into the butter and flour mixture. And it has to be hot because if it's cold, it's going to break down the starch in the flour and you're going to have soup again. So make sure it's hot. Now what I do is I put the 2 cups of milk in a 2-cup measuring cup and I put it in my microwave. And I just heat it until it's hot. And in the meantime, I'm stirring my flour and butter and making my roux and having a great time. You're going to boil the milk once it's in there, whisking it consistently for 1 to 2 minutes until it begins to get thick, and it will get very thickened. Take it off the heat, season with some salt, pepper, and add the Gruyere cheese, all but a quarter of a cup. Add the Parmesan cheese, all but a quarter of a cup. And add the white cheddar, which has all been grated. Put that into the milk mixture and stir until it melts. Now, I use an 8 by 11, about a 2-inch baking dish. I use a porcelain one because they clean up so easy, as opposed to the glass ones. And you're going to pour this milk mixture. You're going to pour about a third of it, into the bottom of this pan. Then you're going to put all the cauliflower florets upright in the pan and fill the pan up. Then you're going to take the rest of the milk and cheese mixture and pour it over the cauliflower evenly. Once that's all settled in, take the remaining 2 tablespoons of butter and the breadcrumbs and melt the butter and add the breadcrumbs and get them all yummy and delicious, and then sprinkle those over the top of the dish. Also, then sprinkle the rest of the Gruyere and the rest of the Parmesan on top. You're going to bake this delightful thing for about 30 minutes at 375 degrees. You can check on it. You want to wait until the top is nice and crunchy and golden brown and appetizing and irresistible. This dish may be served hot, room temperature. I prefer to serve it quite warm. I think it's just better. But there are people who have told me they've served it at room temperature and everybody loved it. So there's different tastes for different folks. But this dish is a go-to for me, either when I'm hosting a family dinner, or other than this year, when I would be invited to potlucks, I would often bring this dish because it's a hit. I have never found anybody who didn't like it. I mean, how are you going to fight over cauliflower drenched in butter, cheese, sauce? How are you going to find somebody who hates that? I suppose you could if you looked hard enough, but they're fewer and far between. This stuff is usually a crowd pleaser, a family favorite. If you are interested in making this, let me know. Let me know if you made it, how it turned out. It's pretty easy. It's pretty hard to mess it up. And let me know how everybody liked it. You can always replay this to get the ingredient list and the instructions, but if you know your way even moderately around a kitchen, you should find this to be no challenge whatsoever. Next week, I'm going to continue with my recipes for the holidays, and I'm going to share with you the most delightful, dark, decadent, immoral chocolate mousse you have ever eaten. And it will be also low in carbohydrates, less than 10 grams per serving. This is Dr. Whiting. Let's make the holidays special by cooking and staying at home. See you next week. Bye-bye.